And here we are, and I think what it is, episode 49. We are
49.
We are one episode from 50, which is my age 10 years ago. And we have Lisa McGill kicking off Shark Month. We had the first shark last week was this guy, Wayne Shearson. He's a true shark. But in the other shark theme that we also have, Lisa McGill is my neighbor. I'm hearing feedback. Well, I've never heard myself come back on someone's mic before. But anyway, it's okay. She's an attorney locally. She's also my neighbor. We've been neighbors for 4.5 years. I think one time I saw her go by in her golf cart. And I see her at events all the time, but she ignores me in the neighborhood. I live in the cheap part of the neighborhood, and she lives in a really fancy part of the neighborhood. So, Lisa, let me welcome you to
I don't know about that.
No, but I remember the first time I met you at an event, and you were speaking, and I went, wow, this woman knows her stuff. I mean, you eat, sleep, and drink multifamily housing and the law, which also you have a lot of cool interest. She also drives a really, really nice Corvette. But we just want to welcome you to show. Just give us, like, I don't know, for the next 20 minutes, tell us your bio. Where you're
The next 20 minutes.
Where you were conceived. Where are you from originally? Because there's so much I don't know about you.
New York, Long Island. I thought you knew that.
I really didn't know that part, but
yeah, Long Island.
Because you still have family there and everything.
Yeah. I moved to Florida. I moved to Florida to go to the University of Miami Law School because I went to college at Binghamton. Now, Binghamton is a great school. It's a great academic school. It's a state college of New York, SUNY college, but it is not. There's no football. There's no sunshine. There's no like party, that kind of thing. So
right.
When I decided I was going to go to law school, all I wanted was sunshine and football. That was my criteria. So Miami made the cut. I didn't get into Florida. I would have gone to Florida if I got it, but I didn't get into Florida.
Well, I don't think University of Miami law is any slouch. So it's we had the captain of the defense for the team on last month, Greg over at Best Roofing. So
that's right. Yes, that's a fun story that he tells.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So you were there after him. So
a little bit.
But he doesn't look it though. He is amazing. So did you come and never go back?
Never went back.
Isn't that great?
My whole family moved down. I mean, again, so I moved down. My one brother moved down first. He went to USF. Then I moved down. Then my father moved, and then my mother followed him because she had to finish her contract. And then my other brother came down to go to medical school at UCF. So my whole family's here. We all stayed here.
Don't you have some family still back up in New York though?
Sure, I mean cousins and but my immediate family is all here.
That's pretty. I wish I guess we have three of the 9 kids. 3 of us live down here, so not bad from Virginia. And then Wayne is our latest resident. He's only been here for about a year. So,
we're from before Wayne.
Yeah, a suburb in Minneapolis, Minnesota called Chanhassen. So definitely have fallen in love with Florida. Florida's exceeded my expectations. So it's been very welcoming. And I remember, I think I first became familiar with you with a lot of people that I have met in Florida, and they all kind of started out of what I call my LinkedIn heroes. And then I had met you, I think it was at one of Kelly's after parties from a trade show, or perhaps I talked to you at the trade show. But one of the things that I wanted to say about you is I definitely appreciated, the conversation that we had initially when we first met. You asked me a lot of nice questions about myself and what I do. What have you done differently regarding your place in our little corner of the economy to kind of brand yourself? Because you're obviously very intelligent in what you do, in how you represent yourself, but you seem to have kind of branded yourself in maybe a little bit of a different way. Why don't you explain that to everybody?
Okay, well, thank you for, thank you for saying that. And Kelly, thank you for all the really nice comments earlier. There are a lot of smart attorneys out there. So, and what we do, community association law, um, don't shoot me if I say this, but it's not the most complex area of law. There are a lot of soft skills, though, that are really
Yep.
necessary in this line of work. So
Yes.
I've been in the industry forever. I was working with the Becker firm, and of course, they always encouraged you to engage in extracurricular activities. But when I say extracurricular activities, I don't mean like sports and fun. I mean like writing, participating in public outreach events, speaking, educational events. So that was ingrained into their system from the get-go. And about 2007, I think it was, we started a blog. I was the only blogger at the time, and it became really, really popular. It was one of, again, there were other blogs, not the legal blogs, but it was really one of the first primary blogs that concentrated on community association law. So I got like a huge following. And I also was the publisher. We had a little magazine over at Becker. So that became really popular. With CII, I was writing articles for them. I became active in the local CII group. And then also for the last several years, active in the national level on CII. And that's really how I've been able to become known in this industry. And it's really just about knowing connecting with the people that you work with, not only on a daily basis, but connecting with others, whether it's in your immediate locale or whether it's on a nationwide basis, to really get a broader perspective of what we do and how to approach some of the common problems that we have to deal with for our clients.
And it's a never stopping or never stop changing laws. And there's been a lot of new laws that have come out as a result of the Champlain collapse. And I know you've been very involved with that. Can you talk a little bit about, and I know it keeps changing, so I know it's a challenge for you, but what are some of the highlights of the things that that boards have to look at? And of course, condo owners who elect their boards, some of the changes that's gone on in the last couple of years.
So there's been this whole concern about mandatory reserves. Well, let me tell you something. Since I've been practicing in this field, reserve schedules, or the obligation to create a reserve schedule, has always been mandatory. Always. Okay.
Yep.
So this is not a new thing. Now, the owners were always permitted to waive or vote to waive or vote to reduce reserves. One of the big changes this year is that buildings that are 3 stories or higher, associations that are responsible for buildings that 3 stories or higher, are no longer able to waive what they call the SIRS, structural integrity reserves. And there's a laundry list of items that are that pertain to the structure of the building for which you must have a professional structural integrity reserve study, and for which must be funded on an annual basis. So they're no longer waivable reserves. Now, for the low-rise buildings, the 2-story or 1-story buildings, they can still waive the reserves, any reserves, but that does not obviate the need to have a reserve schedule. The reserve schedule has to include paving, painting, and roofing, and it has to include any items that are where the deferred maintenance expense is going to exceed $10,000, or the replacement expense. So I've always thought it's so important for any association to really engage a professional to help you prepare a legitimate reserve schedule, because that document is not only for the purposes of your funding, that's really a disclosure document that tells everybody, hey, here are the things that we're responsible for as an association. Here's when we expect those expenses to come to fruition, and here's what we expect to pay. So every year, as a board, you're now telling your owners, this is what we're looking at, this is what we're looking at, this is what we're looking at. Another big change is that the vote to waive for the 2-story buildings and for the buildings that are 3 stories and higher, for the non-mandatory reserves, is now no longer a majority of the quorum, it's a majority of the entire membership. So they need to be cognizant of that, because if they don't receive the requisite vote, then they're obligated to fund the reserves for the next fiscal year.
Right. So here was one of my concerns. There's so many buildings, because we're one of the large, we might be the largest state for condo in the country. I know we have, we might be
I
second.
think California's first.
Yeah, I think, we might
Yeah.
be, as I'm saying, I was thinking, I think California might be first too. So, but although we have different weather conditions, blah, 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 we have a lot. And we also have, in different than California, we have part-time residents, as we all love to call them, snowbirds, and we love our snowbirds. But they have a principal residence, and they also live down here 6 months a year. And it stirs the pot even that much more, because now they've got 2 residents as opposed to 1, and they seem to not as focus as much on the one down here as they do. Well, I don't know what they're doing back home, and whether they're in Philadelphia or New York or Chicago, which seems to be a lot of people that are moving here. But the question is, how do you manage the reserve money, and you're also have to pour a ton of money right now into your buildings? I'm trying to see if they're all gonna jive together. I think to me, it's more important to get the buildings right, and then let's get the reserves right, as opposed to let's worry about money down the road when we have to spend money today. A lot of it's borrowed money.
I kind of agree with you, because there have been a little bit of a backlog on, maintenance projects. Now, the associations that are up on their maintenance projects, I mean, they have a roof contract, and they're replacing their roof whenever it's necessary, and they have regular inspections, and they're doing their elevators and all other types of structural concerns on a regular basis, won't have that shock to the system that some of the other associations are now suffering. And a lot of them are becoming extremely aware of the fact that their deferred maintenance has not only cost them, it's cost them exponentially more than it would otherwise cost. So having the milestones, and in Broward and Miami-Dade, we've had the 40-year, they call them building and safety inspections, for a little while. But for the milestones, especially throughout the state, may result in a little bit of a shock to the system, and hitting the reserves and the milestones at the same time, is going to be very taxing for a lot of associations. So I don't really think anything's going to change as far as the reserve funding requirements are concerned. There may be some other funding options that come about in future years, but it might have been a little bit more palatable to our owners if we had the milestones hit, and then had a 5-year delay on the reserves. Now, to the extent that you can, if you can get most of the work done that you need done this year and next year, if you can replace your roof and get your concrete restoration done, then hopefully your mandatory reserve funding will be somewhat minimized, because now you're going to have a longer life on those items.
But one thing I was trying to lobby Tallahassee for was exactly what you said. Let's get the milestones right and give that 5-year, and it's funny that you said 5 years, because I'm not sure if there was any science to why I said 5 years, but I like that you said it too. It made me feel better. But have that 5-year delay on reserve studies, because what's going to happen is, the result is some buildings aren't going to survive. And I'm curious to see how many buildings don't survive, especially the ones that aren't on the coast, because if you're living in a condo that's worth 150, 200,000 that's inland, and the means of the inhabitants of the association aren't as high as the people that live on the coast, it's going to be challenging for them. And I don't know what's going to happen with those buildings.
We're already seeing that. I've seen it more with respect to coastal buildings or underperforming properties, but we're already seeing where people come in, they swoop up as many units as they can, they turn on the reserves, increase the monthly payments by double, if not more than double, and then the remaining owners are being forced out, so that they can, so that with the ultimate goal of ultimately converting the building either back to a rental, or redeveloping the property, because there are a lot of underperforming properties out there, underutilized properties. It is something that definitely needs to be addressed. Now, I know both in Florida and on the federal level, everyone's looking at, or the legislators are looking at, funding solutions. So whether there are additional banking, financial products that will be available to these associations over longer periods of time, or additional financial benefits for individuals for these, they call mitigation or substantial structural renovation, restoration work, that could hopefully be somewhat of a temper the losses a little bit. I mean, in Florida is already unaffordable. I mean, you can't buy. I have a nephew, he's 32 years old. He can't buy a place. I mean, he needs $150,000 cash just to get in anywhere decent.
Yeah,
That's not easy.
uh, uh, Lisa, one of the first things I thought of when Surfside happened was I think the end game, and I really am looking forward to your opinion on this. I wanted to ask you this is, I really believe that these coastal properties, a vast majority of them are without a doubt going to be priced out with the example that you just gave of folks, middle class folks, whatever, that want to have a piece of that coastal living. The big money is going to come in. They're gonna either raise the buildings, or they are going to put the price point up so high that only the rich are going to be able to afford that. A lot of big money now is coming in. What do you know about this? Because I know you're very connected. You're going to be talking to a few of my friends later on today with CEOMC, Josh Burkett, Mark Anderson, Wendy Murray. Tell me what you know about what I just said and what it looks like.
Oh, it's definitely happening. This is
Yep.
not alien though to Florida. For
Right.
2 years, I was in our Sarasota office. I led a Sarasota office, and that was
Okay.
1999, 2000 into a little bit of 2001, or maybe not into 2001, maybe it ended in 2000. But that at that point, Sarasota, all the coastal communities were really like sleepy towns. So you had
Yep.
units that people either purchased right then and there for 200 grand, 175,000, right on the ocean. Beautiful places. I mean, maybe not so fancy, but great locations. Or you had properties that were in families from Michigan, Ohio, or wherever they came from for 10, 15, 20 years. And those folks were used to assessments being at a certain level. When the boom happened in like 2000, these units went from 200 to like 600 grand. Well, okay, that's wonderful. Wonderful for the people that sold, but the new people that purchased, they were not happy with amenities that were a little stale. They were not happy with lobbies that didn't look, up to date and clean and fancy. So they started levying assessments for substantial improvements, and we had that exact type of exodus, or the exact type of problem. It's the haves and the have-nots. It's a little bit different now because these are all mandatory expenditures. And there's a ton of money. When you say money, there's a ton of money coming in. I know even performing association buildings that are receiving unsolicited offers for purchase. If you have any land, if you have a building on the ocean and there's land on both sides, meaning that you have like decent parking facilities and maybe some grass, well, you're very, very attractive for a buyout. And it could be financially lucrative for those owners, but a lot of those owners really love their piece of paradise and they want to stay there. That's why they bought it in the first place, right?
We were working a project.
Wow, what percentage?
We were on a project down in Miami a couple of years ago. And while we're having this building and really they're pouring a lot of money into it, they had investors trying to buy it. And so for about 6 months, we were wondering, are they going to call us up one day and say, hey, we're terminating for cause because we just sold the building for crazy millions. But and that one didn't go that way, but I see a lot more going that way down the road. It's going to be interesting. It is crazy, the money. The largest assessment I've witnessed on a project we were on was $330,000 per unit. Can you imagine?
God.
And some of the people own 3 units.
Do either one of you know what the percentage is out there that are all cash deals, because the interest rates are out of this world? Anybody know? Anybody throw a percentage out there of what?
28.7%.
Okay.
Just
Okay,
made
I'll
that
go
up.
with that.
Completely made that up. Just like our
I know you did.
advertisers.
I know you did. That's why I was asking the smartest person in the room.
But
Lisa,
Lisa didn't say anything.
do you know that?
Again, I mean, there are definitely a lot of cash sales going on right now, even for expensive apartments. I mean,
Yep.
even in the millions of dollars ranges,
Right.
we've seen some cash deals. Now, when you get up into the several $1,000,000, there are other financial vehicles that people use. So it's
Yeah.
not necessarily like, it's not a Fannie Mae or a Freddie Mac loan, put it that way.
Right. Yeah, it's a
But
hedge
the
fund.
lending has tightened up a lot, and it also depends on they're now being more highly scrutinous of what work has been done in the past and whether or not you're up to speed on all of the repairs that need to be made.
Yeah, and buyers have to
Unbelievable. And
beware.
it is the big money. Yeah, it is the big money. It is. It's hedge funds. It's money coming in from overseas. It's the big money. And I think our fair state's going to look pretty different, regarding the ownership on the coast in the very not too distant future.
Yeah, it was a retired and considered a retiree, haven, but for retirees now, I mean, unless you're coming from California or New York where the housing prices are even more expensive, it's
Right.
definitely not a haven any longer.
No, it's not. Absolutely.
Or maybe San Francisco, California, San Francisco, all those expensive places.
Right.
I don't want to scare anybody away from Florida. We love Florida, our newest resident, Wayne. So, it's definitely, the prices have changed. And you can live in places like Volusia County and there's different places you can move to where it's much more affordable. We definitely are experiencing, probably us, Tampa, and of course Naples have some of the highest priced stuff, but there's still a lot of affordable places to go in Florida. And here,
I'm in Volusia County, and I'm not even going to tell you the city because I don't want any more people coming here. No, I'm just kidding.
New Smyrna Beach. He lives in New Smyrna Beach, everybody.
Thanks. All right. Well,
I always forget the name. I remember
Wayne's house tomorrow. We all know where he lives now.
It's right near Old Smyrna Beach.
No, there's a ton of hidden gems in Florida, a ton of places where there actually is still land, if you can believe it or not. On the west coast of Florida, my husband and I purchased property in a neighborhood called South something Grove, and it's very near, close to Boca Grande, and it was a completely, undeveloped community. It had some houses spattering here and there, but it's a huge community, all with canals, all out to a lagoon that goes right into Charlotte Harbor, and it was a fantastic buy. I mean, I think even now it's more than it was when we purchased, but I think even now it's something that would be considered affordable.
Okay.
There you go. So speaking of residents of Florida, Rockin Wellness, one of our primary sponsors that don't pay us a dime, she moved down to Florida with her son. So, it's, all the great people moving here.
Like Flagler Beach area. I mean, there's a bunch of nice places that are untapped.
There is, I moved here in 1988 and from Virginia and then moved back in 89. I was also offered a transfer when I was with IBM back in the 80s to Boca. I was destined to be here forever. Now I am. I'm coming up on my 5th year anniversary and I absolutely love it. And one of the reasons is because of people like you, Lisa. I've met so many friends down here and it's such a great place. There's so many people that are passionate about what we do. I like the way you slipped in roofing because ABC USA, Wayne Searson is with us. But we have such a great community of people. I think we have great weather, although it's a little warm lately. And when I'm golfing this afternoon, I'll be thinking about you guys. I was pulled into a golf tournament. But it really is it's the people that make Florida great as well as the great weather. I think a lot of people that experience COVID in other parts of the country were jealous of Florida, and they should have been because we just kept on keeping on. And it's outdoor living. I don't care how warm it gets. For me, it's outdoor living 12 months a year. I'm not a big fan of my air conditioning unit.
Wow.
I'm not.
Mine's working double time. Triple time.
One of my neighbors keeps it at 67. I'm like, why do you even live here? Go back to New York. But
I got another quick question for Lisa.
oh, go ahead.
Regarding CEOMC, which is that's actually the first networking organization that I joined when I even prior to moving here to meet people like Kelly, to meet people like Lisa. You're on a call today at 2:00, like I said, with some pretty powerful folks that Mark Anderson Consulting obviously is in Tallahassee. Josh Burkett. It's like everybody that is connected in that organization has a very vested interest in our industry. Can you give us a little bit of a preview, maybe, of what you're going to be talking about today? Because I think it's pretty important.
So we're going to be talking about the 2023 legislation, of course, this
Right.
milestone inspections and the structural integrity reserve studies. Also talk about some of the other laws. One of the great things about today's presentation is Senate Bill 360's construction defect bill. We have Paul Terry, who's a construction lawyer, been working in the construction industry for forever. He's going to give his impression on how that's going to change basically consumer rights here in Florida. And having Josh and Mark is so great because everyone loves hearing the inside skinny on how these laws come about. So I've been pretty heavily involved both on the national and the Florida level on these laws, and it's fast. I mean, things change on a dime, and you need to be prepared to get to a computer, to read, to digest, to make revisions for a hearing that's happening in 45 minutes. So,
right.
And those guys are on it. Those guys are on it. And plus they have they really have the inside knowledge as to why things are happening the way that they're happening.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the
changes?
group? How do you feel about the 558 claim changes?
Well, I mean, the changes to the statute of limitations and the statute of repose really are very, very harmful for consumers. I mean, it's really just an anti-consumer bill. The way I feel about it, you buy something, whether you buy something for $250,000 or $2.5 million, you should get what you paid for. And what you paid for was a house or a condo that is in compliance with the codes, that has decent or good construction practices, and that is compliant with what was specified in your purchase. So if and I don't want to be down on developers. A lot of good developers out there. And again, the developer, I mean, the contractor, the subcontractor, I mean, there's a whole, from the industry, there's a whole line of people that are responsible for what happens in a development. But really, they should own up. It's when you buy a car, if it's a lemon, you can return it, right?
Right.
Or if there's,
Or at least
you have to bring it back to the shop like 6 times in 18 months, it's no good. You return it. And for
but
homes,
you should be able to
don't have
resolve
that
it.
option, but at least they should come and fix it, right?
Right. I thought that the laws were a little bit too consumer friendly, even though I benefit from it in my business. But I think they swung that pendulum so far that I with you, it's a very unfriendly consumer decision, and I hope it swings back. But time will tell. But it concerns me because
me too.
You're developers going to develop on what they can get away with, and I think they've been taking it kind of hard with the way it has been situated. But now it's kind of I think it's going to be very challenging. So we'll see. But I appreciate you being honest on your opinion.
Well, here's the other big pet peeve I'm having right now. So the big developments, most of the new developments are big developments, multi types of family, properties, whether they have commercial properties and, residential properties and multifamily residential properties and what have you. So they're being built with clubs or amenity facilities. Great. Everyone wants the amenity facility. That's why you move there. It's got the great clubhouse, pool, tennis courts, skating rink, or
Pickleball.
whatever it has. Pickleball and all other types of things. So restaurants, different things. So when you buy in there, you have to pay obviously for your house or your condo or wherever you're buying. You pay your maintenance fee for your house. You pay a maintenance fee for those recreational facilities, which is fine because you have to pay for. I mean, you're using it. You're the one that should be paying for it. But right now, we've seen a number of places where, in addition to paying for all the maintenance and care of these recreational facilities, you're paying the developer or some other entity like a profit, like a fee, in addition to all your expenses. So I was just involved. Through CAI, we submitted a amicus curiae brief in an appeal for Sola Vita that's in somewhere in the middle of the state. It may even be in Volusia County, not sure. Where that was the exact situation. And at the trial level, the court agreed with the plaintiffs who said, hey, listen, no, you can charge for everything. And you can even charge for all the, there was a CBC in there, and they even included infrastructure, debt repayment in there. That wasn't challenged, which I think is a little bit problematic, but that's an aside. But a fee on top of it is not a legitimate fee, and the plaintiffs were awarded millions of dollars in refunded fees, and it went up on appeal. I'm happy to say that we won the appeal, and actually, I mean the plaintiffs or now appellees won the appeal. Our amicus brief, I think, was taken into consideration. I hope it was, because they did raise some of our points in the actual judgment. But now that's going back up on appeal because they certified the question to the Supreme Court. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, that really can't be allowed to stand. Yes, I mean, developers, they make plenty of profits, number one. Number two, nobody's against developers making profits. People are in business to make profit. That's the way the world works. But saddling somebody with a forever profit stream, payment on a profit stream,
it's an annuity.
It's just unconscionable. It is an annuity, and it's just unconscionable as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's a little greedy.
Yeah. It's totally disclosed, but come on, when you buy a place, are you reading the 700 pages of documents that you get? I mean, you should, but if that's the only product that's available that's meets your criteria, that's what you want to buy, right?
It's like the two brothers and their grandfather dies and they bury him and they pay for everything, and then they keep getting a bill every month, and the one brother goes to the other brother, hey, why do we keep getting this other bill? And he's like, well, it's for grandpa's tux rental. It's like, come on.
Grandpa's tux rental.
You gotta use that in court, huh?
That I haven't heard before.
Oh my golly. Well, we're over time, and I'm not shocked. I love your shirt. We love you, Lisa. You're just such a great advocate for South Florida and everywhere else you touch. But we're glad you're here, and I'm glad you're in my neighborhood. Maybe someday I'll see you. But thanks for joining us. It's been a blast. One of our sponsors today, of course, is Planet Fitness, which I want to apologize to the public that Wayne's wearing a Lifetime shirt.
Different clientele, my man.
It's Ken Ryder's birthday was a couple days ago, and then you're wearing that.
Okay, well, I apologize. But yes, to Kelly's point, Lisa, you're definitely a breath of fresh air in my life. I don't see you enough, but the next time I do see you, I'm looking forward to having some further conversations. And thank you for everything that you do for everyone in our industry. We do appreciate you very much, and thank you for coming on.
Oh, that's so nice of both of you. And thank you for inviting me. Welcome both of you here to Florida. You're both so gregarious and friendly and open. I mean, this is the type of, you're the type of people that we need here to be honest, open, forthright, and really to engage in business in a way that is for the benefit of all parties concerned. That's really what the name of the game is, right?
What a great way to end that by saying that. You're correct. Appreciate that.
And we should mention Kaye Bender Rembaum.
Right? Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
We mentioned that other firm, which is another great firm. There's a lot of great firms down here in Florida, but you've been with them for a number of years, and I didn't want to leave them out. So
I'll tell you though, Kaye Bender, we've got offices. We're reopening our Tampa office in Atlanta. Orlando, office in Palm Beach Gardens. A lot of board certified attorneys. We have a board certified construction attorney. So, we're moving and shaking. People are very involved, both on as I said, the state and the federal level with legislation and others. So come check us out, kvrlegal.com.
I love that.
Awesome.
Hey, everybody have a great rest of the week.
So do I.
Apologize. I've got to head off for a golf tournament while you're all working. This is what I do for a living.
All right, I'm gonna go work out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go
Whatever
change
works
my shirt and then go back to work and go to work.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day.